Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. So I will speak about gauge field theories, but on non-commutative geometry. So the question is, non-commutative geometry is what? It is not commutative geometry. So I will speak about Lie algebroids, but how to define gauge field theories on Lie algebroids, and then to show that there are Higgs fields as in non-commutative geometry. So I will speak about non-commutative geometry. The motivations. After the discovery of the Higgs particle, we need to understand the true mathematical structure of the Higgs sector. But you know that the traditional mathematics that we use in particle physics are not adapted to that. We have no clue for any indication of what are Higgs fields. The first really interesting information comes from non-commutative geometry, where we know now that Higgs fields are part of generalized connection. I keep it in quote because there are a lot of notions of generalized connections. And here are the two seminal papers I would like to mention, because the first one relies on derivations of an associative algebra. The second one uses spectral triples. So the second one has been used since to produce a model in non-commutative geometry, which is very close to the standard model, up to something. But its mathematical structure is very difficult. If you have to teach this to particle physicists, I have tried to do that, it's not very easy. You see, it's a module, an associative algebra already, it's not quite easy to understand because they are used to Lie algebras, not associative algebras. So what I would like to speak about here is another framework. I don't say that it is a better one, I just say that it is another one, where you can find a good notion of generalized connection, of gauge symmetries, of models, of gauge model, where you find Young-Mills Higgs fields. And very naturally, you have nothing to impose. And this comes directly from the first paper I mentioned here, because in fact, in this paper, they use derivations of the associative algebra, and this space of derivation is a transitive Lie algebroid. So now I understand why they have found Higgs fields here, because in fact, they are using the same scheme as I will describe now. So what is the advantage is that the mathematics are very close to the usual one used in mathematics of Young-Mills theories. I mean, principal fiber bundle, for instance. And the problem is that we have no realistic models yet. I'll say yet, but in fact, I am not working on that. So it's not my goal to create a realistic model here. I am not engaged in that program. So to understand what I want to explain on transitive Lie algebroid, let me remind you how to construct a gauge field theory. I think there are 5 elementary ingredients. The first one is a space of local symmetries. This is a gauge group of the theory. You have to define it in some way. You need to put some matter fields in the game, so you need a representation theory of your gauge group. You need a notion of derivation in a large meaning. A differential structure is good. Then you have to replace ordinary derivation by a covariant derivative on matter fields. You have to define something which is very important because it is a coupling between gauge fields and matter fields. So you have this ingredient which is essential to do physics. And the final one is action functional, which is gauge invariant, obviously, and Lagrangian density, something like that. You have to write it. So we know that ordinary differential geometry of principal fiber bundles are used to produce all this. I will remind you what is these 5 elements. And we know non-commutative geometry. There has been a lot of talk now. And I will present transitive Lie algebroid in this talk. So for ordinary differential geometry, to fix the ideas, you start with a principal fiber bundle with a structure group G over a manifold M. This is a notation I will use in my talk. The gauge group is given directly from P. This is a group of vertical automorphism. The representation theory is just the theory of associated vector bundles. When you take sections of associated vector bundles, then you have a natural action of the gauge group. So it is given in the theory, in the geometric theory. For the differential structure, obviously, we take the RAM, differential calculus, the ordinary one. The covariant derivative is given by a connection 1 form on P. And then you induce a covariant derivative on the space of sections of vector bundles, associated vector bundles. It is a geometric way to do that. So everything is given by a connection 1 form. And then the action functional is constructed using, say, integration on the base manifold, killing form to remove the degrees of freedom for the basis of the Lie algebra, an Hodge-star operator, and you put inside the curvature of the connection. So here you have the 5 elements in that order. This is a natural order to define them in the ordinary differential geometry. And in non-commutative geometry, the order is quite different. You start with an associative algebra, and you begin with the representation theory, which is a module, a right, a left, a bimodule, whatever. It can have a structure like a Hilbert space, anything. And you put matter fields in that. The gauge group is then defined. It is defined in terms of this module. This is a group of automorphism of this right module. Concerning the differential structure, there is no uniqueness. You can define a lot of differential structure on associative algebra, for instance, using Dirac operator, spectral triple, etc. You can use derivations, which is not incompatible with the first choice. And if you have a twist geometry, like quantum groups or things like that, you have twist derivation, which are natural to consider. For the covariant derivative, there is a good notion of connection on the right module once you have a space of forms. For spectral triples, in fact, you can define them with a universal differential calculus. This is a more convenient way to define them, and then to represent universal forms on the Hilbert space using the Dirac operator. Not as an algebra, but as a vector space. And so here we need the differential calculus. And the action functional depends on the choice you have made before. For instance, for the spectral action, you have for spectral triples, you have the spectral actions. And for derivation-based differential calculus, you can construct a notion of non-commutative integration, or star operator, curvature. So it looks very much like the situation of ordinary differential geometry. This is the common structure. And I will show you that in transitive Lie algebroid, I will use this second option. So now that you have the elements, you see here 6 parts in my talk. I will present the representation theory after I will have defined Lie algebroids, the differential structure, connection and covariant derivative, gauge group. I will have to define some structure to construct the action functional, and then I will describe gauge theories. This result has been published 3 years ago now, but we are working on a new development. I will speak in the conclusion. So, what are Lie algebroids? You take a smooth manifold and you consider the space of vector fields. This is at the same time a Lie algebra with a usual bracket of vector fields and a module over the smooth function on the base manifold. And Lie algebroid is a kind of generalization of this space. in the sense that it is a finite projective module over this algebra, which is equipped with a Lie bracket, so you have the two elements. And you have a linear map, which is a Lie map, a linear over the module structure, a Lie map, from your space into the space of vector fields. And you have a relation to satisfy, which is a kind of derivation. When you multiply an element of your Lie algebra by a function, then the function, the relation is there. So here you have a vector field acting on a function. This is the ordinary structure that we know on the base manifold. Rho is called the anchor of the Lie algebroid. And what I would like to mention is that when you open a book on Lie algebroids, you begin with a notion of vector bundle, which I denote by curly A, which is related to my Lie algebroid here as the space of function, the space of sections of this vector bundle. But here I will not use this geometric point of view. I prefer to speak about algebras, modules, because it is very convenient for the definition of the calculus, the differential calculus, etc. So I will not see Lie algebroids as a geometric object, but as algebraic object. And in general, we can view this space as generalization of the tangent bundle, and also I will not use this point of view here. Once you have defined all this, you can define a good notion of morphism of Lie algebroid, etc. It's well defined. It's a good category, so you have a lot of things you can do. So transitive Lie algebroids are a special case of Lie algebroids for which the anchor map is surjective. So in that case, it is interesting to look at the kernel of this map. The kernel of this map, you can show that it is also a Lie algebroid with an anchor which is 0, because it maps everything from L to 0. So this is why it is called the kernel. And there is an underlying vector space here, which is a bundle of Lie algebras. Okay, the same Lie algebra that we'll denote by G in the forthcoming slides. And this Lie algebra, which is the structure of the fiber, gives the Lie structure on L. So that you have a short exact sequence here of Lie algebras and modules, which is important here. The two structures are respected by this short exact sequence here. And this will be the key point of my construction in the following. Let's give a very trivial example, which is useless. Take the space of vector fields, then the anchor is 0, the kernel is 0, and the anchor is the identity. So not very useful, but the second one is more interesting. You take a vector bundle over the base manifold, and you consider the space of first-order differential operators. Then you have the symbol map from this space of first-order differential operator into this space here. Okay, but by duality, this space is this one, and this one contains the space of vector fields. You just put one here, the identity, so that I can consider the inverse image in that space of this subspace. This is a space I will denote by the derivation of my vector bundle. And the map here is then a surjective map by construction. So that, in fact, you can show it is a transitive Lie algebroid. And the kernel can be described. It is just the zeroth order differential operator. This is an algebra, an associative algebra here of endomorphism of the vector bundle. Okay?
Sorry, just question. Isn't it just an extension of the vector field by this zero project?
Yes, here, yes. Yes, more or less, yes, yes. So why this example is interesting? Because it is a definition of representation, in fact. It will be used as a definition of representation in the following sense. You take a Lie algebroid, not necessarily transitive, and a vector bundle, and you say that you have a representation of the Lie algebroid if you have a map here, which is a map of Lie algebroids, respect the bracket and the module structure. Then you have this commutative diagram of exact rows. And here you have a Lie map, exactly a Lie map here also. And you have equality here, obviously. Okay? So this is a map which is induced by this one. Okay? No need to define it. It is already defined by that. Okay? So this is the notion of representation. So now I can say where are matter fields. They are in vector bundles, section of vector bundles. The second example, which is very important also, is the Atiyah Lie algebroid. Here you start with a principal fiber bundle, an ordinary one, with a Lie algebra for the structure group that I denote by G. I denote by R. G is the right multiplication, the right action of the gauge group. And then you define two spaces. The first one is a space of right invariant vector fields on the principal fiber bundle on P. And the second one is a space of equivariant maps from P to the Lie algebra, which are equivariant for the odd representation here. Okay? Both are Lie algebras and modules over functions. The first one here is, in fact, the space of projectable vector fields. It means that there is a well-defined map here. Okay? If you don't restrict to right invariant vector field, it is not defined. This map is not defined, but here it is defined because you have restricted to right invariant fields. So this map is well defined, and there is another map here, which is natural. It is an inclusion, which is defined by this formula here. You take V of P, which is in the Lie algebra, then you take the fundamental vector field at the point P. Okay, that's the construction, and then you end up with a short exact sequence. You have to prove it is a short exact sequence, obviously. And so iota here is not a trivial map here. Okay, it's constructed by hand, but it's not so obvious. This is called the transitive Atiyah Lie algebroid. I will refer it to Atiyah Lie algebroid associated to any principal fiber bundle P. And what is interesting here is that the representation theory of this Lie algebroid is exactly the same as the representation theory of P if we look at it at the principal fiber bundle. I mean that the representation theory is given by associate vector bundles. When you want to represent this transitive Lie algebroid, you need an associate vector bundle. So there are a correspondence with now a special example. It is called a trivial Lie algebroid. A trivial Lie algebroid is just an Atiyah Lie algebroid for the principal fiber bundle, which is trivial, which is why we call it trivial, because here you take just a product, and then you can describe everything very easily. In fact, it is a space of section of this vector bundle, okay, the sum of two here. And I will denote by TLA for trivial Lie algebroid, not transitive Lie algebroid. Okay, it's not a good notation, but this is a module, and the bracket is given explicitly by this formula where x, y are in the are vector fields, and gamma, eta are maps from M to G. The anchor map is just a projection on the first factor, and the kernel is just a second factor here. Okay? Why it is interesting? Because in fact you can prove that every transitive Lie algebroid is locally a trivial Lie algebroid, which means that you can trivialize any transitive Lie algebroid over an open subset of the base manifold, and you can map the restriction of your transitive Lie algebroid to this transitive trivial Lie algebroid. And for the Atiyah Lie algebroid, any trivialization corresponds to trivialization of P. So that when you are used to trivialization of P, in particular we know the gluing function, etc., then you can manage easily the trivialization of the Atiyah Lie algebroid. Okay? So now let us speak about differential structures. In order to define differential structure, I will define a space of forms, of generalized forms. For that, you take a representation of a Lie algebroid, and you consider the space of maps from A to the vector bundle, which are linear concerning the module structure, antisymmetric in the exchange of element in A, and you are ending in the space of sections. At degree 0, you take the space of section, and then you have a graded space here, which is a sum. And the differential is just, okay, it's natural differential. Here you have the action of the representation. Phi of x is an element of the derivation of the vector bundle. Here it is a section of the vector bundle, so this is well defined here. And here you have the bracket inside the Lie algebroid. You can show that the d square is 0, so that you have a well-defined space of forms, generalized forms with a good derivation of degree 1, obviously. So let me give you two examples which are important. The first one concerns the trivial vector bundle here. This vector bundle is always a representation, because if you take an element of the Lie algebroid and you take the anchor map, you have a vector field, and a vector field acts on this space of sections. So it is a representation, and then you define the space of forms with value in functions. This is a graded commutative differential algebra. You can multiply elements. I will not give the formula. And this is, okay, that's all. Now if you consider a transitive Lie algebroid, then you have a natural action of the transitive Lie algebroid on its kernel. That's given for free in the theory. And this action is defined as an adjoint representation. This is a notation. You take an element of the Lie algebroid, an element of the kernel, and you define this element as a unique element for which you have this relation. You see that when you compute that, you are sure that it is in the kernel of rho. It means that it is in the image of iota, so that there is a unique element like that. Now you have this representation, which is well defined, so we can define the space of forms, which will be very useful in the following. This is not a graded algebra, because you cannot multiply on L, but it is a Lie algebra here. So you have a graded differential Lie algebra. In fact, if you look here, you have a relation with that space. It means that this is a module over this one, a graded module, etc., compatible with the differential, etc. I will not enter into the detail here. It is not important. But this is a space of forms that I will use in the following. Let me describe what happens for trivial Lie algebroids. In that case, the space of forms with value in function is exactly this space, the total space of this complex. Okay. Here you have the de Rham differential calculus, the ordinary one. Here you have the dual of the Lie algebra. This is the ordinary complex of Chevalet-Eilenberg. And the differential is just the sum of two, the de Rham differential and the Chevalet-Eilenberg differential on this part of the purely algebraic part of this bicomplex. Concerning the forms with value in the kernel, there again you have a structure which is very simple here, but you have to add here the Lie algebra because you end up in the Lie algebra. And the differential is almost the same, but you have S prime because now you are using the representation of the Lie algebra onto itself here for the add representation. And I will use this short notation for this differential calculus for the trivial Lie algebroid. And why it is important? Because this or that are the good models when you want to trivialize a transitive Lie algebroid. In fact, you can also trivialize the forms, the space of forms, and it is of this kind with an open subset here, but it is a model a local model for forms. So when you have to compute something, you can go at the local level and then use all this machinery. Notice also that there is a strong relation between these spaces here and some BRST differential algebras that are used to quantize the gauge field theories, and we are working on a way to understand why you have here a common structure. Can it be useful to describe gauge field theories and a BRST structure, because we have a BRST-like structure for free here. On Atiyah Lie algebroid, the situation is also clear. In fact, okay, it is not the same level of clarity, but you take a principal fiber bundle, and I will denote by this complex short notation. In order to better understand what are forms in this space, and it will be useful later, let me describe this space as a subspace of a bigger one. For that, consider this space of, here you take an element of the Lie algebra, of the structure group here, and you take the sum of the associate vector field, the fundamental vector field, and an element here which is constant. And then this is a sub-Lie algebra of this space. Okay? That's natural. And then, as a sub-Lie algebra, it defines a Cartan operation of this space for the transitive Lie algebroid on the principal fiber bundle. You consider the trivial Lie algebroid of the principal fiber bundle, and you have here a natural Cartan operation. Cartan operation means you have a Lie derivative and an inner product. And when you have a Lie derivative on an inner product, you can take basic elements. Basic elements means invariant by inner product and Lie derivative. So I denote by GEC in the indices the differential subcomplex of that of basic element. And we have shown that when G, the structure group is connected and simply connected, then the space of forms on the Atiyah Lie algebroid is exactly the space of basic elements in this trivial Lie algebroid. You see that you can embed it and you can work on forms in that space as element like that. Okay, because this is a description of a trivial, the differential calculus on a trivial Lie algebroid. So you can look at forms here as element in this space. And it is very easy to compute something like that. So far we have seen that transitive Lie algebroids are short exact sequence, that we have differential calculus, which I have not mentioned it, but it is a place to say that it contains in a certain way the de Rham differential calculus on M, because you have basic element of the operation of the kernel. You have a good local description of transitive Lie algebroids in terms of a space which are very clear to define, that we can use to compute something, and a representation series given by this this diagram. Okay? So now we can begin to ask for connections and covariant derivative. Let me consider a transitive Lie algebroid. The natural notion of connection on trivial Lie, transitive Lie algebroid has been given in the literature a long time ago. It is just a splitting of this map here, of this short exact sequence, but not a splitting as a Lie algebra. We cannot expect to split this as a Lie algebra, so we split only as a module. Okay? And what is the obstruction to be a morphism of Lie algebra? It's just a curvature of the connection. Okay? This is a way to measure the way that it is not a morphism of Lie algebra. And you know that when you have such a map, such a split, you can define this map here. Okay, this is related here. This is a convention. The sign here is a convention that I take. I could have taken another one, but the plus. But here you describe an element here as coming from an element here and coming from an element here. And this defines omega nabla. And as you can see, omega nabla is a map from A to L. So it is a one form in the sense that I have defined. It is a generalized one form, but it has a specific relation. It is normalized on element which comes from the kernel. The minus sign here is the same as the one here. So if you put plus here, you have plus here. So this relation is a kind of normalization. Okay? When you want to describe this curvature here, you have a description in terms of forms also. It is a two form here. You can define this two form as an element of omega 2 of A into L, like that. You recognize this formula. And then there is a relation between this curvature here and the two form I have defined here. So omega nabla is called the connection one form associated to nabla. And let me describe what happens in the Atiyah-Lie algebroid case. For an ordinary connection on an Atiyah-Lie algebroid is exactly a connection on P. And the notion of connection coincide. How to see that easily is to look at the geometric description. You know that when you have a connection, you have an horizontal lift. And this horizontal lift is exactly the splitting here. Okay? I remind you that the horizontal vector field here is also right invariant. But there is also an algebraic equivalence which can be described when G is connected and simply connected when I use a theorem I have mentioned before. When I describe forms as basic forms in a trivial Lie algebroid. You take an ordinary connection, which is a one form with value in G on P, and you take the Maurer-Cartan one form here. And then you take the difference. This difference is contained in this space. It is a one form in this space here, okay? And you can show, using the properties of the connection and the theta, the Maurer-Cartan form, that it is basic for the operation I have defined before. So that this form defines a form in this space. And this is exactly omega nabla. So here we have a concrete description of the correspondence ordinary connection as a one form, ordinary connection one form, and a connection on the Atiyah-Lie algebroid as a one form in that space. So now that we have a notion of connection, we can generalize this notion. And the way we can define a generalized connection is to say that we remove the restriction on the value on the kernel, so that a generalized connection is just a one form. Any one form will be called a generalized connection. And the curvature is defined by this formula. And now you can say that a generalized connection is an ordinary connection when you have this normalization on the kernel. So why is it important? Because in fact it has been defined in the literature before in another terminology or in another form, in another expression. You take a representation of the transitive Lie algebroid so that you have phi here, and then you take your generalized connection here. This generalized connection defines a map here, nabla hat. Okay, nabla hat is defined here. Naturally, you see that omega hat is used here. And this is a good notion of covariant derivative. So when you have a generalized connection and you have a representation, you get a covariant derivative. But what is important is that when you compute the obstruction to be a morphism of Lie algebra for nabla hat, you end up with a curvature that is here. Okay, so it is compatible. And this notion here has been called in the literature, this notion of nabla hat, this structure, has been called generalized representation or a connection or whatever the name. But here we have removed any dependency on the representation to look at it just at the level of the short exact sequence of the transitive Lie algebroid. We are no mention to define omega hat, no mention of a representation. Okay. So what are generalized connections on Atiyah-Lie algebroids? In fact, you can define them as a one form which is basic in this space of the trivial Lie algebra here, and you can decompose it like that. So omega and phi have to satisfy some relation because the sum is basic, so you have some relation. And what you can show is that when phi is minus theta, then you have an ordinary connection on this space, so that in phi and omega is really a connection one form on P, an ordinary connection on P. Okay? So when you look at this expression, you see that when phi is minus theta, you recover an ordinary connection. Okay? So that the sum here, phi minus theta, so phi plus theta, is a measure of the deviation of omega hat to be an ordinary connection. And this is where X fields will be in the following. So let me summarize. A connection is just a splitting here, which can be represented by one form, which is normalized on the kernel. We can define generalized connection as any one form. It gives rise to a covariant derivative on representation, and you have a good notion of curvature. An ordinary connection can be detected as a normalized generalized connection. You know where they are in the space of generalized connection. And for a Lie algebroid, everything is compatible with the ordinary notion of connection. And you can describe everything in the trivial algebroid on top of P. Okay. So now we introduce gauge groups. We cannot introduce gauge group in general, so we take a representation here. And we define the gauge group as a subgroup of this algebra of invertible elements, which are in fact the vertical automorphism of the vector bundle. So you see here that I need a representation to define a gauge group. In general, I cannot define a gauge group from A alone. And this is very similar to what we have seen in non-commutative geometry. You need the module structure to define the gauge group. But here, what you can do is define not the gauge group, but the gauge, the infinitesimal gauge group, in fact, the infinitesimal gauge Lie algebra, because when you take an element of the kernel, by this relation, you have an infinitesimal action on through this space here on the space of section of the vector bundle. So you have an infinitesimal gauge transformation. And we will say that infinitesimal gauge transformation are element of L. So L is a space of infinitesimal gauge transformation. And now you can apply gauge transformation on connections. How to do that? You take an element, infinitesimal element, you take the exponential of it, but inside this algebra, this is always possible. So this is now an element of the gauge group, which can be decomposed like that. You take a generalized connection, and you look at its associate covariant derivative, which is defined here, and you transform this covariant derivative like that. Well, it is the usual procedure. You know that in non-commutative geometry, this is what we use to define an action of the gauge group. And you look at first order in Xi here, so you develop, here you recover the covariant derivative, plus something which is of first order, plus something which is of second order, etc. And you define infinitesimal action on the connection to be this element in blue here, so I define it like that. And you see that in this expression, d hat appears naturally. You have not to force something to make it appear here. It is this differential structure which is used here as a natural one. You can also show that the curvature is, the action of the curvature is defined as a homogeneous relation here, which is, okay, what we expect. So here you see that we cannot define the gauge transformation, the finite gauge transformation on A, but we can define infinitesimal gauge transformation at the level of A independently of any representation. So this is exactly similar to what we do in ordinary differential geometry. We can define gauge transformation without a representation, but here only infinitesimal ones. But for Atiyah Lie algebroid, the situation is far better, because there you have a principal fiber bundle, so you have the gauge group of this principal fiber bundle. I denote by U an element, and you can look at it as a map which is equivariant for this action. So we have here a good notion of finite gauge transformation, and it is well known that in that case, this space, which is a kernel here, is exactly the Lie algebra of this group. Okay? So that what I have defined to be infinitesimal gauge transformation are, in this situation, exactly infinitesimal gauge transformation. So nothing new. And then you can define the action on a generalized connection like that. You can take this as a definition of the action of the element of the gauge group on my one form. You can show that it is one form in the space of forms, that it corresponds to the induce for a covariant derivative, that it is compatible, this relation is compatible with the action of on covariant derivative, that it induces the infinitesimal gauge transformation I have defined before, obviously, and more importantly, it is compatible with the fact that you can embed ordinary connection into the space of generalized connection. It means that this action leave invariant the space of forms of this kind. Okay, so that it induces an action on this one form here because this one is invariant, in fact. Okay, so everything here looks like a generalized notion of connection on a principal Faber bundle. Okay. Well. Okay, to define structure to construct the action functional, I will need, in fact, a metric. A notion of metric is sufficient to define everything, as you will see. What is a metric here? It is a map that I denote by G hat, which is symmetric, bilinear symmetric on A, with value in, we check its value in the functions. And when you have such a map, you can restrict it to the kernel, obviously. So the restriction is given by H, so I denote it by H, and it is given by this formula. And I will say that this metric is inner non-degenerate if H is non-degenerate, which I will suppose in the following. And we have shown that, in fact, you can describe such an inner non-degenerate metric as a triple, like that. G is an ordinary metric on the base manifold. H is defined like that. And so it is non-degenerate by hypothesis. And nabla is a connection, an ordinary connection on the Lie algebroid. So there is an associate one form, which is normalized. And the relation between these three objects are given by this relation to define the value of G hat on any element of A. You project onto vector space, and then you use G, and you project more or less into the kernel by omega, because omega dot is going into the kernel. And you have a kind of orthogonality relation between the two spaces. So you can decompose any metric in this sense as a triple here. And what is important is this connection, because it appears for free, and you can use it as a background connection for many constructions which will be useful here. For instance, you want to integrate along the kernel. You want to remove the degrees of freedom along the kernel. How to do that? You take a connection, an ordinary connection, so it can be an element of a metric, but here I do not suppose that for the moment. You take the connection one form, you take a metric on the kernel, and you suppose that the vector space for which L is a space of section is orientable. Okay? Then you can define from these two a global form into this space of forms. You remember that this space of form is a generalized forms with value in functions, which is of maximal degree in the L direction, which means here that it has degree n, which is the rank of the vector bundle. And then you can use this volume form to define a good integration here. A good integration, which I'll call inner integration, because you remove inner degrees of freedom, and you end up here in the ordinary differential calculus, the RAM differential calculus. Here also you can define it for forms with value in the kernel, and you end up with forms on M with value in the vector bundle, which is also a de RAM structure. Okay, so you have a good notion of integration here. So now, one step further, you can use the metric which is supposed to be non-degenerate on the base manifold, and you have to suppose that M now is orientable, to integrate the form, the RAM form you get here, and then you have an integration of forms on A. You can also define a scalar product if you use hash to create here a function instead of an element of L, because here you cannot integrate an element of L here, but if you remove these degrees of freedom using H to put a kind of trace here, you can define this scalar product. So when you have a metric, which is a triple here, you can define a scalar product on L, which is H. We can define an integration on the fiber in the inner structure. You can define an integration on M, and so you can define an integration on A. On what I have not mentioned, but in fact it is what you expect, so I will not explain. You have also a star Hodge operator, okay, which is defined here. M is a dimension of the manifold, N is a rank of L, so here you have a map which is well defined. And now you are ready to define gauge theories. How to do that? But you take a metric, you fix a metric, in the sense I have defined, and you suppose that it is a killing metric along the kernel, which means that it is invariant by the adjunct action. You take a connection, a generalized connection, and you consider its curvature, and the action functional is given here, okay, with all the tools I have defined before. And it is infinitesimal gauge transformation, invariant under infinitesimal gauge transformation, okay? You use easily this relation. For ATL algebroid, you can define this very simply. You define, you take a killing form, you take generalized connection. So now it is more than infinitesimal gauge invariant. It is gauge invariant by the group, the gauge group. And if you take an ordinary connection, then here you recover, it's obvious from what I have described, the Yang-Mills action for ordinary connection. But here you have more than the ordinary Yang-Mills action. And it is also possible, well, I will not do that here, to define an action for the matter fields using the covariant derivative and scalar product on this space, etc., etc. I will not define it here. But what is important is to write this action in a way that we can look at degrees of freedom, physical degrees of freedom. In order to do that, you take a generalized connection, and you can define this map, which is an endomorphism of the kernel. Here, you see more or less it is omega minus theta, omega plus theta, more or less. And what you see here is that it is 0, tau is 0, when omega is an ordinary connection. So it is a true measurement of the non-Yang-Mills part of this generalized connection. And this is where you have the scalar Higgs scalar fields. Now you take a metric, and you can show that using this one form, which is given for free by the metric, you can define this. And this is an ordinary connection. So here you have the Higgs fields, and here you have Yang-Mills fields, okay? But you need a metric to define that. But okay, the metric will be used to construct a gauge invariant, the Lagrangian. So the metric is given, and you can use it to define here a Yang-Mills action, a Yang-Mills potential. So you have a decomposition here. Given a metric, you have a decomposition of generalized connection into two parts, ordinary connection and an algebraic object, a purely algebraic object. And for an ordinary connection, this decomposition gives tau 0, so that omega is omega hat, obviously. And now the total action of the action functional can be decomposed. Here I put also the matter fields. You have a term which is a Yang-Mills-like term in omega, a covariant derivative of tau along omega, a potential for tau, a covariant derivative of phi along omega, and a coupling of phi with tau. Okay? Everything that is expected is a Yang-Mills-Higgs theory with matter fields. And what is important is that the potential here can have a solution which are not zero. It can vanish, this potential can vanish when tau is not zero. You have sectors when tau is not zero, so the X scalar fields are not zero, so that you can develop around the solution which is not zero, and then you generate mass term for using the covariant derivative here for the Yang-Mills fields here. You can generate mass term for from the coupling here, etc., etc. So you have really Yang-Mills Higgs type gauge theory. So why did we get Higgs fields? In fact, we have this structure here, which is a pattern which is common to many structures in gauge field theory. You have a generalized connection. The general connection can be split into a geometric part, which is a Yang-Mills field, an algebraic part, which is a scalar field, and then you can show that you have a spontaneous symmetry breaking mechanism. On trivial Lie algebroid, you have this short exact sequence, and I would like to remind you this short exact sequence in non-commutative geometry, which is at level of groups, here at level of Lie algebra, and this is more or less the same. So here, what we have in non-commutative geometry is very close to what we have here, because we have a structure which is common on the two here. Here I mentioned gauge field theories on ordinary spacetime. If you take Moyal spacetime, you have also maybe Higgs fields, but here it is not this short exact sequence, which is the reason for Higgs fields. And you see that these spaces are more or less in correspondence, a group Lie algebra. So maybe there is something more important behind. So let me conclude. We have seen that we can construct gauge field theories as generalization of ordinary gauge field theories, at least in two directions. You know non-commutative geometry, but now we have transitive Lie algebroids. Maybe there are some relations, a deep relation. They share the same pattern. We had purely algebraic direction of space-time, but not. We do not add it just like that. We put some structure on it. We put some differential structure. It is important to put differential structure along the inner degrees of freedom. It is very important. It is what we do in non-commutative geometry and what we see here. Remember that in the direction of G, the Lie algebra, you have forms. Here, gauge field theories are very close to Yang-Mills theory, because when you take an Atiyah Lie algebroid, you can use any principal fiber bundle. So you have no restriction of the gauge group. Any gauge group can be used here. Okay? And there is a lot more to investigate. For instance, I mentioned the relation to BRST structures, which is a work in progress, to construct realistic models, obviously. There is also a relation with what we have called a dressing field method, which permits to create gauge invariant fields out of connections. And in fact, we have discovered the phenomena in this example with tau. In fact, tau is used in this method. And we think there is a deep relation, and we are investigating a way to present it more in a clear way. Here I have mentioned the generalization of ordinary connection, which are called Ereshman connection. Ereshman connection and the connection which are used in Yang-Mills fields. But in fact, what we are investigating now is the fact that we can also investigate generalization of Cartan connections. And that's important because Cartan connections are used in gravitational and conformal theories. So we hope to find something. So thank you. Oh, sorry.
Do you exploit the presence of Lie groupoids?
No.
That is a mechanism for quantization. Also, Richard worked on this, and I did. So you often have the situation that the Lie algebroid describes the chemical theory, fossil structure of the dual, and the quantum theory is the representation theory of the corresponding Lie groupoid if it exists.
Yes, if it exists, and in this case, maybe it is only for Atiyah. No.
Your case,
for transitive Lie algebroids, maybe it's only for Atiyah Lie algebroids. They are the only one which are integrables. if I remember correctly. Okay, so, but we have no relation with it because we wanted to look at the infinitesimal derivation in a certain sense. So we are not going to quantization or something like that.
But so I think it's getting down.
Yeah, yes. So I should add it on the a lot more to be done. Thank you for the.
Can you tell us a bit more about the last slide?
What? FFP or this one? Okay, just take a look here. You have all you have computers. So now it's a school which will take place in Vietnam in 1 year, more than 1 year. This is a building where it will take place near the beach. The beach is just here. Just take a look at the website. You will see a lot of beautiful pictures. And okay, this is a school for young students. So if you have students which are interesting, let them come. And there are people here who will teach. Will not mention names. Thank you to them. And this will be followed by FFP. We don't know the number. I've put 15, but I'm not sure, maybe. Because we have organized FFP 14 in Marseille 2 years ago now. Some of you were there. And the organizer has asked us to organize FFP, the next one. And we will organize it at the same place just the week after. So if you want to come, there will be a session in mathematical physics, as we did in Marseille. And maybe you can stay for a while for the school, and then for a week, a more week, and FFP, and you have maybe the opportunity to speak also. Okay? To students which have learned a lot on non-commutative geometry. So. Ah, that's the problem. That's a problem. Okay. Joker.
So in the Higgs mechanism,
Yes.
this spontaneous symmetry breaking reduces state structure group, I guess it is said. So where does this appear in this approach? I mean,
Where does it?
can you see like what would be the unbroken group, say, in the usual physics part?
Ah, but you have more or less the same situation as ordinary models. Because when you write it, you have everything decomposed, and you can forget the origin of all the fields, and then you end up with an ordinary Yang-Mills situation. So it is the same, maybe that.
Okay, then if it is the same, why is it hard, say, to produce realistic models? I mean, you just have to the potential.
I am lazy. No, the problem is that here you have a covariant derivative, more or less, which is in the adjoint representation. And it is not easy. We know from non-commutative geometry that it is not easy to produce a realistic model from the adjoint representation. Because, for instance, abelian groups like U1 cannot be seen for that. So we have to be clever. And we have not tried to produce a realistic model. We have other problems to look at. For instance, the reduction of symmetry I mentioned here. And we think that it is another way to look at symmetry breaking mechanisms. So we prefer to investigate that in the setting of transitively algebroid instead of using the ordinary procedure that we know that it will work, but it is not okay. For me, it is not so much interesting, so I prefer to develop something new. So. Oh.
Is there a generalization of the Levi-Civita connection?
We are. Yes, not yet. We have not looked at this specific case. Yes, but maybe we can do something when we will understand better the generation of Cartan connection. Maybe we will have some insight of what we can do. For the moment, we have a big commutative diagram, and we have to understand how to to pass through all the spaces. You see, in that situation, you have a two-dimensional diagram, so it's a complicated one. instead of just a short exact sequence, because we have to take into account the soldering form, so we have to manage something. But it works. It's Cartan connections are really understood in that setting using transitively algebraic. So it's a very surprising fact.